here goes nothing. Hey guys, just working on this mower here, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to make a YouTube video on how to get one of these newer style Briggs Stratton 675 163cc engines running. This actually applies, guys, to any of these late model Briggs engines that have the plastic carburetor underneath of this airbox. This engine replaced our beloved L-head engine right here, which in my opinion had nothing wrong with it. These engines have been around for the last 50 years. They ran great. They never had serious problems. Well, not that this is a serious problem over here, but they never had silly problems, should I say, like this engine does. So this one has a plastic carburetor in Briggs' attempt to minimize the problem with ethanol and fuel. However, there is one metal component in that carburetor that causes problems, and that's why this thing won't start. So the backstory on this mower is I picked it up at the scrapyard. It obviously had been sitting for a while. The owner brought it to the shop, told them they wanted it up and running so they could mow their lawn this season, and the shop said it wasn't worth repairing because, I don't know, A, they're lazy, B, they'd rather sell a customer a new lawnmower than spend time on this. So I pick these things up about 30 to 50 at a time from the yard, bring them back to my shop, and unplug carburetors, wash them, and resell them. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to do the carburetor fix on this, which affects, like, I would say 90% of these things not running in the springtime when you pull them out for the first time. This is probably going to be the reason why. I'm just going to get some tools set up and I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is either drain the fuel or get yourself a little clamp like this. Needle nose vice grips work fine as well. And what you want to do is just clamp off that fuel line right there, because that fuel line is going to pour fuel everywhere. There you go. When you pop it off the back of that carburetor. Then you want to undo this little airbox cover. Take a look at the filter. That filter's pretty rough, guys, so we're going to put a new one of those when we put it back together. And under here you've got a pair of 5/16 bolts or screws and a pair of 9/32 screws. And what you want to do is take all of those out. So there's a 5/16. One, and of course I dropped one, two. And we're going to change our little tool over to 9/32. Trying to do this with my left hand and hold the camera with the right hand's going to be a little bit of a juggling act, but we'll see how far we can get. Then you want to pull this cover off. It's held on the back by a PCV ventilation pipe right there. Make sure when you put this back together that you slip the ventilation pipe back onto that fitting. Now here's your carburetor, and what you want to do with this thing is just give it a pull like that, pop, and once it's kind of loose, you're going to get a pair of needle nose pliers and you're going to squeeze that clamp together right there and pull that hose off the back. I might have to put the camera down to pop that hose off. I don't think I can do it with one hand. Alright, so through some Hollywood magic, that is now disconnected. Then what you want to do is just carefully twist this carburetor and pull out this rod. Again, this is difficult to do with one hand, but we're going to try it. Pull out the choke rod. There goes one, and your governor rod. Just leave them hanging in there like that, guys. Be careful not to bend them or tweak them, but leave them like that. Now here's the culprit. Here's the carburetor. You're going to want to dump the gas out. It'll have a little bit of fuel in it like that. And then we're going to pull the bowl nuts off, or bowl bolts, 1 and 2. We're going to go inside this and I'm going to show you where the problem is. So here's our carb. These are the same size that you use to get the box off the front of the carburetor, 9/32. What you want to do is pull those two out. And then I like to take a flat-headed screwdriver What do we got here? Well, in that drawer, a flat-headed screwdriver, and just carefully kind of pop this bowl off. It's plastic, guys, so you don't want to pry at this thing too hard. There it goes. And when it opens up, take a look inside. See if there's any gunk down on the bottom. This one isn't too bad. You can see there's not a lot of debris. Being plastic, these things don't react as bad to the ethanol and the fuel that you use. But we're going to show you is the problem in this carburetor is right here. You can see this little jet here, this gold jet, and it's plugged, and that's the reason why the fuel is not running through this carburetor down into the engine. So what you want to do is take your handy dandy bicycle brake cable that you unwound from your old bicycle days, and you just want to simply poke out that hole. Kind of give it a little spin. Some guys like to use these welding tip cleaners. I find that they're sometimes a little bit too big for this job, but we can try it. That's the smallest one there. I don't know if it'll fit in. Oh, it does work on this one. Okay, so you can kind of pick it out and file it out and clean it out. And once you got that, I'm just noticing that the little pin is falling out. Shove that back in there. After you've got that done, take yourself a little compressed air, blow that out. You want to make sure that that's clean. Brake clean also works well. Just give it a little rinse with some brake clean like that. So now when you put this guy back on, the same thing. You want to give him a clean. And it has to go a certain way, guys. If you put it the wrong way, you'll break this. You'll notice that there's an indent in the bottom. That indent sits below this, I don't know what you would call that, this pickup tube. And you have to make sure that you put this together so that that pickup tube drops down into that hole. If you install it backwards where the pickup tube presses against the drain, and you tighten this down, it won't pull together, and you'll actually crack this bowl. So I've done it once, very first one I ever did. So make sure that you've got the pickup tube dipping down into this little depression, and you're going to just push those back together. Take your two 932s. Tighten them up like that, and that there should be enough of a carburetor job to get this thing running. One thing I'd like you to note is there's supposed to be a plastic ring and or an O-ring inside that throat, and if you take a look over here at the mower, you'll see, I don't know if you can see it in there, but there's the two rings. That's the rubber O-ring and the plastic clip. Make sure you take these off and install them into the back of your carburetor. You don't want them sitting on the intake pipe, you want them sitting on the carburetor. If these go missing or end up not sealing properly, a nice tight air seal, the machine won't run properly, if at all. So now I'm just going to flip the camera off so I can use two hands to connect these two rods back to the carburetor and slip this back on. Then we'll button this thing back up, give it a pull, and see if it starts. So there, it's back in. All I did was tip it sideways and put that rod into the choke arm, and the same thing you can see in the back there, the governor arm down inside, and I hooked that fuel line back up with the little fuel line clamp that's there. And next I'm just going to take this cover, throw this cover back on, making sure to plug that port into that pipe. Can sometimes be a bit of a job. Throw the air box back on with a new air filter, and I'm going to turn the camera back on and see if we can get this thing started. Alright, so sorry I didn't film that. It's just hard to hold the camera and tools at the same time. We got a new air filter. Throw that on there, take our old filter and toss it out. This cover. And yeah, we're just going to clean up this leaked fuel that's right here and see if we get this thing to start. So I'm going to try and do this with, again, one hand holding the camera and one hand filming. Here goes nothing. So she's a little smoky, guys, because when I buy these things, I tip them up on their front wheels for storage. They sit in my barn in rows, and the oil tends to fill the head. It also ruins the air filters, but that's part of the cost of doing business. So what we're going to do now is finish cleaning this thing up with a good wash. I already did an oil change on it because I suck the oil out when I get them. That way they leak as little oil as possible. So it's been sitting all year with no oil in it. So I added the oil. We added some fresh gas. The carburetor's clean. There was a new spark plug put in before as well, because those old spark plugs get very oiled when these machines sit nose down, wheels up in storage. We'll give her a sharpen, and got a bag. Found a bag for it right there. List this baby on the marketplace for a couple $100. All right, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to try to make some more videos about stuff like this. Maybe even get a tripod going so I can get some actual proper repair film shots for you guys on the channel. Anyways, talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.